Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hoop Show. Another Sunday night edition. After the Catters, unfortunately, the season came to an end, but we'll cover that in a little bit. My name is Ben Reeve, and I am one of the hosts of the Hoop Show. Joining me, co-host, man, the myth, the legend, and Devon Robertson of the podcasting world, Mr. Paul James. Paul, how is the six-pack going at the moment? Are you getting ready for summer, ready for some shirts off? Up and down the boardwalk. Oh, you're on mute, mate, I think. We're flying.
Forgot. Look, it's a bit keg-like, I would say, rather than a six-pack at the moment. So not at all ready, but
we'll make do. There's time. We've got time still to
really
improve.
Really young kids at 2 and 4 means that I don't do as much exercise that I perhaps could or should be.
We've got a few months to sort things out after our get rid of those winter kilos and so forth. If this is the first time you've joined us on the show, thank you for watching. Thanks for giving us a go and tuning in. If you are a returning viewer, we love having you back. And feel free, if you are watching this live, to comment. We're happy to share some comments on the screen and engage with you guys. If you aren't already a subscriber, please think about doing so. It really helps the channel as we build towards 1,000 subscribers. And thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. And an extra big special thank you to our Patreon members, the 2 Jareds. And we are looking for more Jareds, or if you're not a Jared, it doesn't matter. We're happy to have you on board. Our Twitter link is down below if you want to engage us on the socials as well. So, Paul, let's get into the game. Unfortunately, Cats had a loss to the Dogs, 79 to the Cats, 104 to the Dogs. Not the result we wanted. But some good signs from a few of the young boys that we picked, we played as well. I particularly liked Toby Conway. I think he stood up well in the ruck. What did you think of the game? What did you think about some of the ins? Were you overall happy with the result, or were you still down and out that the Cats season came to an end?
I mean, look, there's no doubt disappointment over the final result, which was a loss, and also the end of the season. But at the same time, there was a lot of positives in that game, and you've obviously touched on one big one in the form of Toby Conway, but I feel like there's a lot of the other boys that came in and did a really sensational job as well. It was a bit of a shame that Ted Closey only came on really for the final quarter. We didn't really get to see the best of him and get to see him really kind of strut his stuff. But at the same time, it was opportunity. And I think that was one of the things that we heard a lot about throughout the course of the week. Like, this was going to be a great opportunity for some of the next generation players for the club to, in a game that ultimately, for as much as it didn't matter to the Cats, it really mattered to the shape of the 8. You know, I mean, as of right now, when we record this, the final spot is yet to be decided. The GWS and Blues game is right in the midst of it at the moment. So I think they acquitted themselves really well, considering there were no stakes for the Cats, but there was something important still on the line there, and they recognised the situation. They recognised also that there's a couple of extraordinary retirees that were participating in that game too, and they wanted to do them justice on the way out. And I think Izzy also wanted to do himself some justice on the way out because he put in an absolute blinder. But
he did, and I'm sure he'll feature in the votes. I'm sure he will, but you did prove me wrong last time. We didn't quite agree on our 3-2-1s last time around, but I got a feeling Izzy might be up there for his performance on the weekend. But we'll cover that. So yeah, look, I thought it was a fantastic effort from the young kittens, let's call them. 3 quarters of footy, well, mostly for at least a really good first half there. Often the Cats start quite well in the first quarters, so we did pretty well. I think the 3 quarters, the fourth quarter, clearly, I think maybe we just ran out of legs and looking one eye into the preseason, I suppose, or the end of the year mainly. And the Dogs had something to play for and probably wanted it more, to be fair. And good on them. I think as you mentioned, they're waiting on the results of the final game of the round, Carlton GWS, which I believe, as it currently stands, 59 to 72. So a 13-point lead to the Giants with approximately 40 minutes to go of footy. So we'll see how that plays out. But this is a Geelong Football Club podcast / YouTube show, and we are very one-eyed, the Cats. So we'll keep it all about Geelong. Another debutant. We mentioned Toby Conway, but another debutant. You talked about Ted Closey as well. It was great to see a few of the other younger guys that maybe have played a handful of games come back into the side, like Ollie Dempsey, Mitch Nevitt, Big Vice. I'm going to call him. I'm going to go with Miami Vice with Mitch Nevitt. I think that's got to be his name. Something along the Vice theme there. Who else did we get back? Oisin Mullen came back into the squad. So a lot of really young guys, and considering the stakes that were online for the Dogs, and really not much for us to play for, apart from pride, and really these boys giving it their best shot, and just the love of footy, really getting out there and getting a taste of what maybe 2024 is going to look like. I think me and maybe a few other people, and generally I think socials were pretty positive about the outcome in the end, and had some good feelings to take away, which is strange after a loss, especially.
You put your ticks and crosses tweet out, and you did say positive vibes only or something like that. So you did steer the conversation a little bit in terms of our little ticks only, please.
Americans watching the footy did throw in a few crosses as well, so that's okay. But yeah, I think overall, though, I think considering the side you had, if that was middle of this year and that was the side we had to put out, I would have been really proud of the way they went. And, accepting the fact that we weren't going to win that game, but to lose by, 4 goals in the end, roughly, pretty honourable loss. We don't like honourable losses. We want to win the game, but you'll take it. Yeah. What else did you like? Is any moments of the game that stood out for you? Is there any? I mean, you're welcome to sort of say some things that frustrated you if there are some things, but what stood out?
No, it was nice to see Shannon Neal finally get his first goal.
Yes.
And I think it took a while for everyone, for the penny to drop there and realize, oh, hang on, this has finally been it, because he's obviously had a few misses. There's been some unlucky circumstances. It's also been 2 years worth of games. I mean, not, 48 games or whatever, but it's been 2 seasons where he's been in the AFL system there and has been yet to kick a goal as a tall forward. So it took a little while for the penny to drop with the boys, but they all got over there eventually and made the fuss it deserved. Yeah. And it was good to see that he finally got it as well. So little Joe the Goose out the back to seal the deal, which was nice.
He was about 50 metres away from his nearest teammate at the time as well. So,
yeah,
but they finally got around to him, which was nice. And I think they were more in love with Toby Conway. And everyone was loving Big Chili. Toby. I think his nickname's Big Chili around the club. So I was going with Twitty Conway, some kind of American Dad, not American Dad, Family Guy reference. Sure that's gone over your head, that one. But
no. It's been a while since I've been dining out on Family Guy, but
we'll go with what the club wants. Yeah. If they're going with Big Chili, we'll go with that. How about, there's a couple of moments I liked at the end of the third quarter. One was Dangerfield's goal to put the Cats 8 points in front. But could you imagine anything would have topped that at the time? Could anything have topped that goal to put the Cats up by 8? Yes, it could. Isaac Smith reached for the stars and took an absolute imaginary hanger over Dangerfield, which was hilarious. But what did you think?
No one quite expected it. I don't think Izzy quite expected to get as high as he did. Danger didn't expect the thing full stop, and so wasn't quite ready to brace, and so stumbled and down Izzy went. So it worked out perfectly. It
was hilarious.
Funny circumstance.
I was glad that they gave it a few replays there. Another one that was trying to get a bit of airtime was, are we calling him your boy, Ollie Henry? He's one of your boys, isn't he? I know you've got a few in the stable there.
No, Ollie, but I've been shouting the name all year, and he's finished with 40 plus goals for the season, so he's absolutely my boy.
Yep. So he had a nice little ride there. I can't remember, was it Rory Lobb that he was having a little ride? One of the tall boys.
He had a few cracks over the course of the game. It was good. Party time.
He was up there for about 5 seconds at one point. I couldn't believe it. Was he ever coming down? Didn't take the mark, but it would have clearly been mark of the year, really, if he gobbled that one up. But wasn't meant to be. Anyway. But other things I liked, I didn't really like. I think you mentioned Neil's first goal. Did I like? None of these two blokes played. Cameron won the goal kicking for the club for this year. It's the first time in 11 years that Hawkins hasn't won it. I would have liked Hawkins to have played and have a crack at winning it again. I think he was only a few goals behind. But
I think about 7 in the end. So
it's come to an end. It's come to an end, and but you never know. He might have had a day out. I feel like he's had a day out against the Dogs once before. So I feast on some doggies. A couple of bad things from the game, I guess, and this one worries me a little bit. Colin Dashney did come off at one point with a concussion, and I don't think that's his first concussion by a long shot.
No, we've had this conversation before about Jake.
So that's a bit of a worry long term for him as to what does that mean. And a lot of people on the socials, if we're going to talk about a negative, a lot of people saying he's cooked and it's time to call it a day. He's only played I think not even 200 games yet, but not his best year. But we can cover all that stuff in another show. But it is, if you bring it back to the concussion for a second, not great for him, and not great for anyone to get multiple concussions in their career.
No, it's a real shame. And look, hopefully it doesn't. I mean, yes, there's people calling for his head, and I know I've been kind of a bit of a critic about his on-field form over the course of the year, but I'd rather that be the source of the end of his career than head trauma. There's too many of these circumstances starting to pop up. You know, whether you think of Paddy McCartan, but obviously there's several others. Paul Seedsman, for example, from Adelaide as well. These stories are cropping up, and there's more and more cases off field that are starting to rise to the surface, and we just don't want that for their own personal health, let alone obviously all the controversies and fuss that it's going to create as well, the things that distract us from the game itself. But we just don't want it for their health first and foremost. So
no, we don't.
Bit of a shame there.
Yeah, so hopefully
I'll just shout out another positive there that we
go for it.
Ollie Dempsey put in an astounding performance. I know Mitch Nevitt has been my man in particular of that kind of next crop coming through. But Ollie was fantastic last night. I mean, it was 15 disposals. He got himself a goal, but also laid 8 tackles in the process. Was a really, really good performance from him over the course of the night. And I mean, he struggled to crack the team over the course of the year. And obviously, we've got a high quality team there, but even with opportunities emerging for other players to come through with all the injuries we were facing, he seemed to be the one that just kept missing the cut. But was also then always in like the best half a dozen on the field in the VFL.
Yeah,
so it was good to see him get his opportunity and put in a really great effort on the weekend. So just
he was going okay.
Yeah.
When he got dropped, he was actually travelling fine. Either moment, thank you for joining us. Either moment says Zach Guthrie showed a lot of leadership. I thought Zach was fantastic, and I reckon Ollie Henry can replicate his development, so he can be an important player for us. And then in a few years' time, so 20-year-old. I think he's only just turned 20 as well. So he's going to be fantastic for us in a few years' time.
Both Ollies.
A bit more bulk on. Gets probably just a bit of work on his judgment. He can take a hanger. It's great.
Sometimes he's talking about Ollie Dempsey though, not Ollie.
Ollie Dempsey. Sorry, I've read that wrong. Sorry, apologies. Ollie Dempsey can definitely take a hanger as well. And I do like Ollie Dempsey's development and showed a bit in this game as well. Brandon Parfitt. I didn't have him on my run sheet today, but. Brandon Parfitt, where's this version of Brandon Parfitt come from? Where's this been all year?
No, it's the Brandon Parfitt that we know is there, but it only comes out once every 5 or 6 games, unfortunately, these days, which is, I think, the maddening aspect to him, where he can put in a monster game and be one of the best on field and then go missing for 3 or 4 weeks. It's, I mean, it was nice that he put the game in, that quality of a game in. He got the tackling pressure right up. His tackle count was good. But it was just, I don't know.
Where's it
it's really kind of emblematic of where he's at, where it's just not enough, not frequently enough, I should say.
So what does that mean? Does that mean he's we're going to trade him and he's got some more value now, or is that what
I don't think that one performance is going to add to his value. But I'd like to. I mean, I think he's gone. It's whether the club can extract a second or a third pick. Maybe there's some stuff going back the other way if they try and turn it into a second. Those sorts of little creative, crafty solutions that an Andrew Mackey and a Wellesley can kind of get up to make it worthwhile.
Look, maybe he'll stay. Maybe he'll stay, and it'll turn it around next year, and we'll get.
I hope so.
We'll get the round 24 version of Brandon Parfitt all year long. That'll be lovely, wasn't it? A bit of a score check. The Giants are currently leading by 26 points at the end of the third quarter. So, Doggy supporters, if you are tuning in, sorry, looks like season 2023 is Dunsky. So, bad luck. You probably coughed up a game or two there you shouldn't have. A bit like us.
Like the Eagles, for example.
Like the Eagles, for example. That wasn't ideal, really, was it? So, no, not great. Not great at all. So, all right. Yeah, so look at the dog. Probably should also mention, and I don't know how much you give it really, but the Dogs hadn't won at Cardinia Park in 20 years. They finally broke the curse, which
just took us to drop 3/4 of our best team for them to do it, but that's neither here nor there.
No, not either. He probably had 12 blokes that could have played that didn't play.
Yeah.
But that's okay. And Tom Liberatore got his first win against the club ever in his whole career. I think it was. I think they were saying he'd never actually beaten Geelong. He must have been missing the last couple of times he was out there. So,
well, I mean, they haven't beat us that often, regardless. So
no.
Yeah, I guess just coincidence he's missed him, and even like the Riley West. Well, the last time the Dogs actually beat us in Geelong was when his dad was playing for the them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And
back in 2003.
What else happened? The Brisbane Lions were winning premierships and all that sort of stuff.
The last year of the three-peat.
Yeah, either moment says she wants to keep Parfitt. He and Tyson are good mates as well. So, yeah, it's a possibility. I think we'll keep him. I think we'll give him one more year to see if it was an off year this year. He had some injuries last year, so I'm not going to judge him too harshly in 2022. And it was pretty hard to get back into that team, to be fair, last year. Some individual stats. We did talk about Isaac Smith before. He had a blinder, 36 touches. He had a lot of 1-2s, by the way, and they were trying to feed him a fair bit. But 36 touches, 11 marks, and 5 tackles, and kicked a goal as well. So his stats were looking pretty good. I think he nearly carried it about 900 metres too.
Yeah, he carried 947, so he nearly took it a kilometre, which is I don't know how many players have cleared those sorts of numbers over the course of this year, but I suspect it's not that many that have gone over a K, and he nearly did it. So
that's pretty crazy. If you can nudge the 1 kilometre on that stat, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
I think Stewart gets up there in those areas fairly often as well. But Smith, because of his runs and his long kicking, he frequently moves the ball northerly as much as he can. Tom Stewart, the other guy I mentioned, 29 touches, 14 marks, including 10 in the first half. Went nuts. Didn't lay a tackle though. Tom, come on, lay some tackles. And doesn't kick a goal, but that's okay. So his stats were pretty good. I think a few people thought he might have been up there in their votes as well. He did feature reasonably prominently in the Roll of Honour, which this week went to Isaac Smith. I think he just pipped him by a few percentage points. But people very, very happy with Tom Stewart's game. I don't know if I was as happy as others, but I thought he played pretty good. It's a typical Tom Stewart game. From the other side of from the other team, I thought Adam Trelaw's game was fantastic. He'll probably get the 3 Brownlow votes for me. I think he'll get the 3 Brownlow votes with his 33 touches, 6 marks, 4 tackles, and 2 goals straight. Will Bontempelli get votes in this one? It's he might need a couple of votes this game to get the Brownlow.
I think he might.
Is he good for a couple? I don't know. It could be the one. I don't know.
Yeah, I think he might need to get himself 2. Look, I mean, working
Isaac Smith might get some votes. Isaac Smith.
Working his favour is that he might have played both ways. He got a lot of the ball. I think it was 31 disposals, but he also laid 10 tackles. Got on the scoreboard.
Touches, 10 tackles.
And then half a dozen clearances as well. So he played a very all-round game. Which works in his favour. Maybe that gives him the edge over someone like a Libber who'd be right there or thereabouts over an Isaac Smith, considering Izzy's in the losing team for the night. Potentially even over Adam Trelaw, but I feel like Trelaw was their best. So it'll be a fascinating one because I think this who knows, this game could be the one that determines whether he does or does not win the Brownlow this year.
Let us know in the chat if you think Izzy's getting votes. I personally think he should get votes just for his hanging on Dangerfield at the 3/4 time there. Surely that's worth
that, right?
Surely that's vote worthy. Surely. Some team stats. Toby Conway, I think he was the leading hit out winner on the ground.
I think he was. Yeah.
I can't believe that. Overall, we won the hit-outs. I think we were +5 in hit-outs. -7 in contested possessions again, which seems to be the theme of the second half of this year. It just seems to be losing that a fair bit. Which is
23 for Tim English. So
bit of a shame. And pretty good on the tackles, which is great from a young side. +9 on the tackles there. So we won the tackle count there, which it's hard to get a read on that stat. Sometimes it might mean you're doing a lot more chasing because you haven't got the ball. But I think with a young team, I'm still happy with that regardless.
I'll take it. Who knows? I mean, the way the team might evolve. Sorry, the way the team plays over the next few years might have to evolve based on the nature of the players that we've got there. If Scotty's a brilliant coach, but he's got to recognise that his players play a certain way, and as a result, the game plan might tweak. So it'll be an interesting one to kind of reflect upon. Say next year, for example, when a few of these guys are presumably lining up in the starting 23.
Yeah, fair enough. Before we get into some Twitter votes, it's Twitter votes. I'm confusing myself. We'll get into the Twitters in a second, but let's do some votes. Paul, have you got your 3, 2, 1s, and do you want to go first again? How do you want to do this?
Well, I mean, I think we're both unanimous. I assume that Isaac Smith is the 3.
We're not unanimous. We're
not.
We're not.
Even though you thought he was in the Brownlow votes, you then didn't think he was actually our best.
Yeah, I think of it differently. I think he would have caught the umpire's eye a little bit more. But we watch Geelong every week.
Okay.
I watch Geelong every week, so I sort of see some other things maybe. But anyway, so you've got Isaac Smith with the 3 votes. Okay, who's got your
3?
Sorry, Izzy with the 3. Who's got the 2?
Tom Stewart with the 2, and the 1 was the harder one. I felt like there was kind of a blanket you could throw over that whole next group, but. Look, I don't know if it's a little bit of sentimentality that's kind of kicking in with this one, but I gave the 1 vote to another outgoing player, Sammy Menegola, with for a good game of 27 disposals, 6 marks, 3 tackles, a few clearances.
Wow. I thought he was rubbish.
Sentimentality, I think, might have kicked in there, but
maybe,
he got his hands on the ball a lot. So
he wasn't rubbish. He looked like
a guy.
A
few times, I'll admit.
Yeah, he looked like a guy who hadn't played senior football all year and was probably caught up in the moment a little bit too much. So that's probably harsh for me. But I tell you who agrees with me. Either moment, 3 votes, Tom Atkins for me. Sorry, either moment, I'm not sure. You might have to let us know, or maybe you can stay anonymous. But they believe that Tom Atkins was huge for us as well. So I've given Tom Atkins the 3 votes at my end. I've given Izzy the 2 votes. Just couldn't quite give Izzy the 3 there. And Tom Stewart, I gave the 1 vote to there as well. So, pretty similar, I guess. That is the votes. So we'll see how that plays out on Brownlow Medal night as to whether Izzy is going to get a vote. Don't know, man. Tom Atkins is the type of player that is a little bit invisible unless you follow the Cats and you're obsessed with stats and pressure acts and all that sort of stuff. He's one of those guys who just sort of gets the ball and gives it off really quick, and you don't notice him so much. So, but he's good to watch. Now, Paul, what have we got? What's happening in the Twitter sphere at this stage with the Cats? What are they saying out there?
The Twitter sphere, I mean, as I said before, you guided the conversation a little bit with ticks only. Obviously, as you've highlighted, some people chose to ignore that at different stages. But Americans watching the footy saying Parfitt brought it. Where was that all year? Buse shook off the rust. I would agree. Busey had a really solid game. I should have brought him back sooner. Conway was so good they had to switch the assignment on him, which was kind of an interesting one. Now, I think it was. Look, I'll admit I don't think it was necessarily because Conway was winning in the ruck there, but Tim English did have to go forward. And I think that was them going. I think recognizing the situation, and stretching the Cats' defense more than the All Australian ruckman can't beat a debutant. But at the same time, all credit to Toby Conway, who did play a fantastic game there. If you could just get the ball moving forward from this point, that'll be the next step for him because 25 meters gained from 24 hitouts.
Can I stop you for a second and ask you a question? Yeah. Are our expectations on Toby Conway going into 24, are we considering him the next All-Australian ruckman?
All-Australian ruckman next year.
No. Next year. Are we going to maybe lose our head a little bit and put the expectations a little too high on that young fella? I
hope not, but there's a great one. Look, actually, I'm excited by the way that they set things up with Conway and Stanley last night.
Yep.
And with Toby, hopefully to get through a preseason unscathed, which has kind of been the big problem for him so far. If he can have a pretty clean preseason, Stanley as well, they can really look after each other a little bit, and I think that'll be a really good 1-2 ruck situation going into next year, with Stanley getting close to the end but still being incredibly athletic. Conway being a very good up and coming ruckman. This could work very, very well for us.
Stanley has turned himself into an amazing kick inside 50.
He delivers it quite well, doesn't he?
Oh my goodness me, he's hitting it lace out at the moment. I think it was kicked to Ollie Henry or something like that from memory. Absolutely beautiful.
To be fair, he's been able to lace those out for a few years. It's actually, I felt like it's been a strength of his. It was more the actual ruck craft that was kind of the big challenge for him, because if he could get his hands on it, he'd outrun most people. He's big and stronger than most people. It was just the actual core job that was kind of his biggest challenge, and sometimes getting on the defensive end when he needed to. But again, that's where this pairing can work quite well for them. So that's going to be interesting to see. Glyn tweets at us saying, tick Parfitt, tick Stewart doing Stewart things. Buse was great. Conway, Neal were good. First game for Henry without Hawke and Darty. It was his first game without the both of them, and a fantastic effort.
And Gary Rowan as well. Yep.
Gary Rowan as well. Yeah, I mean, you saw Gary Rowan on crutches there at the end and whatnot. So they're all there and ready to go. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing. Kari Savadas. Toby Conway, looking forward to seeing him more next year. Dempsey looked very confident. Parfitt brought the heat. Where were you all year, mate? Smith, great final performance. Tick, the season's over. Which I guess is a perspective there. That final one. And look, the sentiment is pretty consistent across the board there. A lot of commentary around basically this future, this next generation, from the likes of Conway, Dempsey, and those that we saw last night, but also referencing obviously your Henry, Bowes, and Bruin picks from the beginning of the year, and how good that's been for us. And I think actually just on the Jack Bowes thing, I mean, it was his 100th game last night, so congratulations to Jack for that. Obviously, the majority of them have been with the Suns, but congratulations to Jack for last night. And he played a pretty great game as well. 25 disposals off half back and did a really good job. So I think he's really starting to work out where he belongs in the team. And on the Cole Jasny thing, I feel like he's probably the one that takes Cole Jasny's spot.
I felt like Tanner Bruin worked it out a bit quicker throughout the season than Bowes. And look, Bowes had that injury as well, which didn't help. And
I think Bruin's role was more defined too. Mate, you're in the midfield. Do midfield things, whereas Bowes kind of, I mean, he's been in the midfield at different points. His very first game, he found himself forward, having a really important shot for goal against Carlton in round 2. He's, got those. I think he's been a chess piece that they've moved around a little bit more, which has maybe made it a little bit harder for him to work out what his role is within the team, as the club presumably works out what his role is within the team as well. But that's an interesting one as well. I'll get you to ping this tweet as well. This comment from the chat as well, just as it's popped up by the moment, just referencing another moving forward. Another big tick is having pick 7 in the draft. That is exciting as well, except that it's probably going to slip to about pick 10 or 11 once the Gold Coast takes all their academy players. So I guess that's an important thing for people to kind of keep in mind if you're Cats fans, and I guess any supporter of a team who's kind of in that the bottom end of the ladder and has an early pick, is that unless you're like pick 1 or 2 and kind of getting ahead of Gold Coast, then you're actually likely to slide back quite a few spots because of all the Gold Coast Academy players that are going to get picked. So
is there a way we can get Gold Coast to give us some high draft picks again, like last year? That'd be nice. If we can.
Who are they trying to offload? Is there anyone that they need to salary dump? We'll take Rao. We'll take Rao.
Yeah, we'll take a couple. Yeah, Lukosius maybe. Ben King. Ben King. Yeah, don't want Hardwick. They can keep him.
No, they can keep him.
Yep,
I mean,
a bit of
we've got to be on the lookout. Certainly, I guess we've lent into this conversation a little bit now, but it's certainly been interesting watching the Darcy Parish conversation over the course of the week. Scott Lucas getting out and kind of really digging his heels in as his manager. It's there's a lot going on around that conversation at the moment, and I feel like we're the team that's just sitting there licking the lips, going, "All right, mate, you can't work it out. We'll be there and ready." And obviously, Geelong is home. He's got ties to the area, and he would be a free agent too if he makes his way over there. So Bailey Smith last night, also just to shout that one out, Bailey Smith was down the race trying out his Geelong jumper for 2025.
Yes. And we'll see how that goes in the off-season. Still think it's possible. I think you think we'll be waiting off camera, we're probably saying it might be more likely a year away, but we've got to get Brody Grundy and Darcy Parish, and so you're not going to be every year you bring 3 new blokes into the club. So and
we can't set this cadence all the time.
No,
yes. At the moment 2025. So I think he's got one more year with the Dogs, and then he'll jump.
And then we'll see where we go from there.
We'll be there ready and waiting.
Fair enough. So thanks for that, Paul. Now, if we have a bit of a look at around the ground now, just a quick update on the scores. This one looks like it's pretty much over now. Giants are 33 points up. Cannot see. Well, Carlton could surprise us, but
no.
Q might be in the rack a little bit.
Charlie got his Coleman. They don't care now.
Charlie got his Coleman. So the scores that you can see on the screen here,
A little bit out of date.
just before we went to air, it was 59 all when it was, and Carlton haven't scored
have
since.
not scored since.
Have not scored since.
It's now 59 to 98.
But going back to Friday night, the Bombers, unfortunately, their season really petered out. They did have a mathematical chance if they beat.
What happened in your top four?
Yeah, well, that didn't happen. But the Bombers did have a mathematical chance if they won by 100 and something, and Carlton won by 100. Something like that.
Yeah, and the Giants lost by 100 and something. Yeah.
Well, it was meant to be. Hawks, surprisingly, the Hawks dropped. That's going to be the young side. They're going to have good days and bad days, and the Dockers got them down in Launceston or Hobart, one of those places. Tassie, we'll go with Tassie. Yeah. The North, the big upset. The North decided we don't like number one draft picks.
We don't want Harley Reid. We don't want
Harley Reid. Screw Harley Reid. And the Suns just said, well, we don't want to play anymore. We're not a real club. Who cares? But good on North. They've broken their losing streak and they've bookended their season with some wins. So good for them. The Saints weren't good enough.
They'll get Harley Reid at pick 2, just to be clear.
Yeah, so I think they will too, actually. Saints weren't good enough, but were pretty honourable in defeat, really, against the Brisbane Lions up at the Gabba, down by a couple of goals. Maybe a few things went differently. They could have pinched that one. The Adelaide got the job done against Eagles, even though at one point Eagles looked like they wanted to give up the number one draft pick as well. They had a bit of a lead at one stage there too.
And then Tex caught fire.
Went boom, 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 and kicked 9 goals. Another 3 Brownlow votes. How many Brownlow votes is Tex getting this year? I reckon you'll get a few.
Yeah, pretty well.
Might be top 10.
Some big bags.
Big bags, so Texan.
He's also kicked 19 against the Eagles this year. So
he's feasted on the Eagles, hasn't he? Goodness gracious me. Port Adelaide got the job done by 31 points on the Tigers. Pretty not much to say there. Frank the Tank I like. Francis Evans was a late in. Can't remember who he went out for. Anyway, sorry. Former Cat, Francis Evans, kicked 3 goals. So I did feel like he's probably not in their best 23, but good on him for playing well in that final game. And if there is an opportunity in finals for him to play, hopefully he takes it with both hands. Now, I'm on former Geelong Cat watch for the rest of the year now, just looking at all the former Cats players.
I was quietly supporting the Tigers for a while there. When things were a little bit tighter, I was quietly hoping that the Tigers were going to get up. I mean, going back to the draft pick thing before, that just slides down to 6 if they leapfrogged us. So at this point, if we're not going to make the finals, let's just fall as far as we can.
I did think that as well. Exactly right. The Sydney Demons game was interesting, but then I think Swans looked like they had it in the bag, and the Demons just came home with a rush, didn't they, in that fourth quarter? And Bailey and Petrarca just was absolutely in beast mode in that fourth quarter. So they're looking the goods. And as we've spoken about, it looks like the Giants are going to win that one. 39 points they are now. Yep. So this isn't a live ladder by the live score sheet, people. We're not that advanced on the Hoop Show. We'll get there one day maybe. But these are graphics created on a wonderful app called Canva. So done about an hour ago. So that's as good as you get on this channel at this point in time. If we can just maybe maybe you can pull up your ladder predictor, Paul, if I could just, without giving you any notice of this, if you could maybe just have a look at that. And we can, just as we sort of start to round the show off, and let's have a bit of a look at where we think how the finals are going to play it. Now that we know who's playing who next week, I don't know what days and times and all that stuff yet, but we know the matchups now. Looks like I've got it up now, but looks like we've got
pretty comfortably put the Giants in there now. So
it doesn't look like
so. What that will do then is that we've got the Pies and the D's, which will likely be the Friday night.
They're saying Thursday night on the TV.
Oh, Thursday night, okay. But I guess
they're saying it could be Thursday night. Carlton might be Sydney. It looks like this stage on the Friday night.
Yeah, okay.
Which gives Sydney a chance to fly home as well and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, true. Also, shout out to them then the little buddy walk around the Oval that he had today to say goodbye to all the Swans and Hawks supporters too. That was nice. So Pies and the D's, Blues v Swans, Saints v Giants, and then the Lions v the Power.
What do you think of the first one? The Pies and the D's. I reckon this could be the most interesting of the 4 for me.
So Darcy Moore will be back. Dacos won't be.
Dacos won't be. Melksham sounds like he's done his ACL, so not that he's their number one forward, but that does change the mix for them a
As
little bit.
as a certain key defender over there readily pointed out before he got punched a couple of years ago.
So I'm sure Mr. May's probably not too upset about it. I'm going to tip the D's to win this one, mate. Maybe that'll be a surprise for some, but I think the Demons are going to upset the Maggies around week one of the finals. And
I think I'm still on the Pies.
Still on the Pies?
I think I'm still on the Pies. I don't think the D's have got the forward line potency to get the job done.
Okay. We shall see. Hey, let's hope it's a cracker.
Huge. It's going to be huge if the D's get up.
Yep. The next one, the Friday night game, which we think it's Friday night, will be Carlton versus Sydney. Don't know any more about Carlton. The winning streak's come to an end. Well, it will come to an end. And is that going to shake them a little bit? Have they got a little bit ahead of themselves?
You watch every Carlton supporter say it's the loss we had to have.
Yeah, well.
They're down by 45 points now. So
I will be tuning into the fan cams on Blue Abroad podcast later tonight just to see what they're saying, because they were drinking the Kool-Aid. They were doing all that. They were already planning premiership celebrations down Lygon Street. All this sort of stuff they were talking about. So it could come to an end very, very quickly. But and can we gloat because we didn't make the finals? Yes, we can. Of course, we can. We can. We're still running premiers, aren't we, Paul? So
we're running premiers until that siren sounds at the end of the grand final.
And may it be a draw?
Going well, it's a draw, and it goes on one more week.
Let's hope so. The third game, the Saints versus the Giants, we think should be at. Will this be at Marvel or the MCG? Probably at the MCG, you'd think. Saints.
I don't know.
Saints will want it at Marvel, clearly, but
there'll be an argument to be made that, like, even if you took it to the G, that you may not max out. Like, you wouldn't get more than what you could get at Etihad anyway. What can that place take?
Pretty sure we've played Fremantle at the MCG before.
Sorry, I say Etihad.
Yeah, Etihad. So it's Telstra Dome, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess, but like our home ground is in Geelong, so Marvel stadium capacity
50. It's usually about 50, but they'll get
53.
40. They'll get about 49 or something like that.
Yeah, I couldn't see him getting more than 53 anyway. So I feel like that puts it on the agenda to maybe be at Etihad. And I mean, it's the AFL's ground as well. Like I know they've got their quotas that they need to hit in terms of number of games at the MCG. That's always been part of the issue that's kind of screwed us over the years, but they're going to get 2 this week anyway between the Blues and the Pies D's games. So they might be able to go, no, let's just take it to Marvel and be fine. And if that, I mean, that really tips things towards the Saints if it does. But you can't rule out the Giants. They're white hot.
They are white hot. They had a loss last week, I think, from memory, but they were coming off a nice little winning streak before that. So they are definitely one of the form teams coming into September. And I wouldn't write them off against the Saints.
And look, the Giants are getting the job done at Marvel right now. So
exactly. So at Marvel right now, exactly right. So they'd be more than happy to play at Marvel, you'd think. So maybe the Saints want to play at the MCG. We'll wait and see. I'm still leaning towards the Saints on that one. But the other one, I don't think I could tip against the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba. They haven't lost it all year. And Port are really impressive. But who would you tip for that one?
Yeah, I'm all about the Lions at home. Look, it's going to be a really fascinating matchup. I'd argue maybe the power of the better team, but the home factor tips it towards the Lions. So,
okay,
I'll be really interested in if a lot might hinge on whether Joe Danaher can actually kick straight from the top of the goal square this time.
Oh God!
Oh my God!
Who was that Richmond bloke that missed? It was a Richmond bloke today.
Really? I haven't seen that yet.
No, he's the athletic guy. Anyway, doesn't matter. If you're watching this, you'll probably know who I'm talking about. Try doing a live show and remembering names on the run. It's always a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
Look, we won't go through the rest of the games and permutations because I cannot pick 4 games in a row at this stage. So I don't think it's going to change next week. I love it when there's a few upsets in the finals, though, Paul. So hopefully we get a few surprises along the way. I am tipping, if you are a Collingwood supporter watching this, I am tipping you to go out in straight sets. So, big call. Not afraid of a big call at the Hoop Show. I'm tipping Buys to bomb out in straight sets, and I think Carlton will go pretty deep still. So
I'm tipping a Pies Lions grand final with the Lions actually to get it done, and it'll just send shudders up the Pies supporters because it'll be 20 years since the Lions did it last time to Collingwood in the grand final.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I can't see Brisbane winning at the MCG.
No, neither can I. I think that's mostly a vindictive sort of approach from me, to be honest. But
I see. I think it's going to be Melbourne and Brisbane, and Melbourne with the MCG advantage there. I think that'll be how it ends. And I did tip Melbourne at the start of the year. I can't remember if you had Melbourne in your grand final teams at the start of the year, but we can revisit that.
Yeah, it was us v the Ds that I tipped.
When we do our season review later on, we can go over some of those early predictions and see how they all played out. All right, so that's pretty much enough AFL content, really. There's a bit of AFLW coming up soon, so if you're interested in that, which I'll be keeping a very close eye on how the girls go. Our season kicks off on the 2nd of September. I think it's against the Bulldogs again. So last year, if you're not following it, just so you want a quick update, Cats finished 5th last year, so we had a bit of a heartbreaker in the finals there, lost by a point, I think it was. And the Dogs finished 7th. So, and last time we played the Dogs in the AFLW, we got over them by a point. So it should be a great game. I think it's like a twilight, like a 5:05
Yeah, it's like
start.
5:05 or something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So they're good value. I mean, the competition's getting stronger and stronger every year. So if you haven't checked it out before, maybe give it a go. If the kids really enjoy it. It's nice. If you especially got really young ones, it's actually a really nice environment. It's less busy. If you can't stay for the whole time, that's fine. So, but I just find it a good little introduction.
Get around the girls. They're building something over there. They could be doing.
They
things
could be
that
top
our
4
men's
this
team
year.
So
yeah, I genuinely think they'll finish top 4. Whether they go all the way is another thing, but because they haven't won a final yet. But yeah, let's hope that they can go pretty deep into the finals. Now, as we finish off the show, Paul, just a couple of things, and I'll chat with Paul after the show's finished. But the season won't end. Hasn't ended for the Hoop Show, so there'll be some more content coming your way over the next few weeks. I'm not sure what your schedule's like, Paul, but we'll definitely be putting some review videos out for all the finals games over the next month of footy. So. Might be a little bit shorter in nature, like 10, 15 minutes each, but we'll definitely put some content out there. We definitely will do the season review video at some stage as well. So I've got to do a bit of research and look at some of where it's all gone wrong and some of the good wins and all that sort of stuff. I've got some things in mind regarding the Carnegie Group's medal and the Brownlow and all that sort of stuff. So keep watching, keep tuning in. If you haven't already subscribed, as I said, we love all our subscribers on the channel, and we love a few new ones as well. If you're keen to sort of see what we're all about and check us out for a few more episodes. What's your week looking like, Paul? You got much on? Are you glad the season's over? Time to focus on some gaming stuff again?
I am absolutely flat out. This is the craziest time of the year for me for game stuff. I'm flying off to Sydney for redacted reasons during the week. Yeah, I'm NDA'd into oblivion on it. So, but I'm flying into Sydney in and out on Wednesday for an event there, and then I've just got a ton of game reviews and bits and pieces I'm doing at the moment. It's our lead editor has decided that at this busiest time of the year in the game calendar that he's going to go off to Italy for a few weeks. So us fellow editors are picking up all of the slack, and even on my actual proper paid work side, my Year 12s are gearing up for exams pretty soon. So
good on.
There's a lot going on. It's pretty busy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Paul, as always. Thanks to everyone else. Catch you on the next one probably next week or during the week. See you later, everyone, and go Cats.
See you guys.